Up next is Emily Nowak, and I've known of Emily and her friend Lenny's story that our station, News Channel 7, covered in 2018. Their story is awesome-tastic, to say the least. If I attempt to tell any part of this story and how they came to be, I am not going to do it justice. So I want you to hear their story directly from them so that we can do it justice. Emily, Lenny.
Hello, my name is Emily Wise. Most of you might know me as Emily Nowak, but I just got married 2 weeks ago. Thank you. So it's a little change for me. I was just your average 24 years old at the time woman. To some, I was called a daughter, a sister, a friend, now a wife, or even a teacher. But as of November 2nd of 2018, I am now proud to be called a living kidney donor. This journey has been special to me in more ways than I can express with you today. It's often hard for me to explain how this all happened, as I've been asked several times and I'm never quite sure how to answer that question. For me, it all started with a simple call to want to help someone else. And that just so happened to be through a Facebook post on April 4th of 2018. Now, I'm going to be sharing quite a few dates with you as I go on with this story, so please bear with me, but they are in here for a reason. So on that day of April 4th, a man named Lenny Zwieg, who is standing right next to me, was at a Brewer game and wearing a shirt that said, "Share your spare." He's wearing it today, as am I. I wasn't at the game, but I came across the photo and immediately knew that I had to help him. I don't know if it was a coincidence or an act of God, but something that day made me call the number on the back of his shirt. After that call came many tests. My first one was on May 4th. The labs and back and forth calls with my kidney coordinator eventually led me to a dead end. I was not a direct match for Lenny, but knew with everything in me that I still had to help him in some way. This is when the idea of pair donation came in. My kidney coordinator had said that although I couldn't help Lenny directly, I could be his pair and enter into the National Kidney Registry, also known as the NKR. This would allow Lenny to get his kidney faster, and in return, a kidney would be going to somebody else. Now, this sounded like a great idea, as I was all about helping as many people as possible, so Lenny and I got entered into the National Kidney Registry together. Now, keep in mind, at this time, Lenny had no idea who I was, and I also didn't know the time frame that all of this would take place. I went to St. Luke's in Milwaukee several times in the upcoming months for various testing, and then I waited patiently for that life-changing call. On October 4th of 2018, I got the call that changed everything. I still remember getting a message from my coordinator saying to call him back as soon as possible because he had some exciting news. And on that day, I found out that I would be donating my kidney on Lenny's behalf on November 2nd of 2018. I was so excited to finally know the when of our surgery and immediately wanted to contact Lenny. So that night, when I saw a second Facebook post, but this time from Lenny, I knew that God was listening. Lenny was thanking the person who offered to donate on his behalf. I sat there in my living room just bawling my eyes out, knowing that for some reason I was that person. Things were really finally falling into place. So that night, I reached out to Lenny and his beautiful wife, Becky, and the rest was pretty much fate. So from that moment on, Lenny and his family had become a part of my family. We made regular phone calls with one another and even were able to meet during one of our last appointments at St. Luke's. So it was finally the day of the surgery, and again, I still didn't know exactly where my kidney would be going, but I did know that it was to a man from Pennsylvania. Everything went really well, and although a part of me was gone, I had never felt more whole. Lenny's surgery went well, and we were both on the road to recovery. On November 4th, I was released from the hospital, just 2 days after my surgery. Immediately after my surgery, I wrote a letter to my kidney recipient, whom I didn't know. I gave my letter to a kidney coordinator and waited to hear back. Less than a week later, I got a second phone call that once again changed my life. I got to talk to my kidney recipient, Charles Davis from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and his wife, Teresa, who are now the newest members of our big kidney family. His childhood friend, Michael, ended up being Lenny's donor as well. Now, if you were paying any attention to the dates that I have been mentioning, and noticed how often the number 4 had come up in those dates, there is a saying that goes, it happens in threes, but for us, the magic number is 4. 4 people, many of which who were complete strangers, now share an unbreakable bond that can never be broken. Since our donation, all 4 of us have kept in contact with one another, even getting to meet in person a few times. The most recent was having Lenny and Charles, my recipient, attend my wedding just 2 weeks ago. Lenny and I have had the privilege and honor of throwing out the first pitch at where it all started, which was a Brewer game. This journey has been nothing short of remarkable. It's amazing to me how one decision can set off a chain of events and end up changing so many lives. My journey wouldn't have been what it was without the phenomenal doctors and nurses at Aurora St. Luke's Hospital down in Milwaukee. I owe so much of this experience to their staff and all the efforts that they put into making this happen. As I look back on what has all happened, I still can't believe how it came together. God has blessed me with a wonderful family and friends who stood by my side through this entire process. Through all of this, I now developed new family members who will always hold a special place in my heart. I feel very fortunate for this opportunity and to be an advocate for others who may be going through similar experiences. My story is only one of the many beautiful journeys that led to a new life. To the recipients of those life-changing gifts, I want to celebrate you and your family for your perseverance and your strength throughout this journey. I know the times aren't always happy, but with this new opportunity, I hope you're able to make many new lasting memories. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to all the donors that are here today and all the family members for your selfless gifts of life. You are truly heroes and inspirations to so many. I know being a donor is something that most people don't understand, which is why I feel we need to stick together. I've had the privilege to develop the One Kidney Club of Wisconsin, where donors are able to get together and share their stories and enjoy the company of others with only one kidney. If you'd like to know more about this, you can either talk to me afterwards or join our Facebook page, One Kidney Club of Wisconsin on Facebook. So once again, thank you all for being here today. This is truly a day of celebration and one in which I am so honored to be a part of. So thank you all, and thank you, Mark and Lynn, for having me.
All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you. My name is Lenny Zwieg. I am a living kidney recipient. This coming Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, will be my 3-year kidneyversary. I'm here to help people understand why donation is so important. This is my story. In 2004, on an overseas business trip, I contracted a tropical disease called dengue fever. This caused many health complications, including an autoimmune response that attacked my kidney function, resulting in IgA nephropathy. I was initially to be listed on the deceased donor list, but my kidney function stabilized, and after a few months, several treatments and procedures, I was told my kidneys were stable, but will continue to decline over time, which they did, slowly until 2015. In that year, my kidney function went from 35% to 7%, and I started hemodialysis. For the first time in my life, I felt completely mortal. Something that I was unaccustomed to. My new daily routine was nothing less of daunting. A typical morning consisted of getting out of bed and getting sick, then walking into the kitchen to see my 3 beautiful children avoid eye contact and wondering why Dad gets sick so often. Seeing them worry so much for me was one of, if not the hardest things I had to endure during this journey. Next, dropping off everyone at school and then to the office where no one really understood what I was going through. I looked somewhat normal, a little gray and thin maybe, but normal enough. People used to say to me, I wish I could get off at 2:30 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday like you do. You are so lucky. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. After work, it was straight to dialysis for a 5-hour session, then home for a late dinner and bed. My friends were supportive but avoided me for the most part. When I did run into someone, it was easy to see how uncomfortable they were talking with me. I chalked it up to them not wanting to have an uncomfortable conversation about donating and the feeling of obligation. This was a hard pill to swallow, but I had to look at it from the other side. I would have been the same way if the situations were reversed. You don't know what you don't know. During this time, I had 2 potential donors. First was my Aunt Linda, who was listed with me on the NKR for a year before her kidney function dropped below optimal. Second was a friend from high school that went through all of the testing to find a complication during the final round. I had all but given up hope, but my support system would not let me. My wife Becky pushed me to start a social media campaign, Lenny Zwieg Needs a Kidney, on Facebook, and designed a t-shirt promoting Share Your Spare with my information on the back. The outlook was not good, but things were about to change in a monumental way. Knowing I was going through a hard time, my oldest son bought us 2 tickets to the Milwaukee Brewers game. I had intended to wear some team apparel to the game, but Becky urged me to wear our Share Your Spare t-shirts with my information on them. This won't work unless you put yourself out there, she said. She was right in a big way. Our shirts caught the eye of an amazing young woman named Peyton, who took a photo of the back of my shirt and posted it on Instagram, then to Facebook the next day. Overnight, our whole world changed and things blew up. Peyton's post went viral and hundreds of calls and messages started to come in on our hotline. This did not stop for weeks. I began to have TV and radio interviews, and the Milwaukee Brewers contacted me about my story. It was truly a whirlwind of emotion and positive energy. I asked my clinic about the testing and possible candidates. They did not tell me a lot, only that there were several people and that they were surprised at the amount of responses they received. I did find out there was one top candidate who was a match in blood type, but physical size of the kidney was too small, and that this mystery person / hero had decided to push forward and donate on my behalf through the National Kidney Registry. Less than 10 days after we were listed as a pair, I received a call while in the office. My transplant coordinator was on the other end and asked, "Do you have plans this November 2nd? Because that's the day you'll be getting your new kidney." I immediately started celebrating, shouting, dancing, and crying, and had caught the attention of the entire office staff. When I got off the phone, everyone cheered and congratulated me. And I received a record number of hugs that day. I ran outside to call Becky and the kids and did not stop shaking for 24 hours, just like I'm doing now. Later that night, we posted on Facebook that we had a date but still did not know who this mystery hero was. It was not long after that we received our first call from Emily and got a glimpse of how much of a wonderful person she is. So kind and selfless at a young age, truly an inspiration for us all. Emily instantly became a member of the family. Our first face-to-face meeting was set to be in front of several different local news stations a few days before the transplant date. It felt a bit nerve-wracking, to meet that way, but it worked out for the best. Our surgeries went well, and I only had very minor complications that were typical to kidney recipients. I did wake up with many wires and tubes sticking out of me, and everyone telling me how good I looked. I laughed. I must have looked like a Frankenstein experiment gone wrong, but appreciated the kindness. Emily was already part of the family well before the surgery, but little did we know our family was going to grow even more. Emily reached out to the person she donated to through our transplant coordinator. When he responded, we were introduced to Chuck and Michael, two lifelong friends from Pittsburgh. Chuck received Emily's kidney. I received Michael's. One leap of good faith resulted in more than one life-saving gift. Sorry. 5 months after surgery, Emily and I were invited to throw out the first pitch at a Brewers game. What a day that was. But the best part was the awareness that it created. And I finally got to meet Michael, my donor, face to face. Today, things are very different than they were 3 or 5 or 10 years ago. Receiving a transplant gave me my health and life back. Without it, I don't know where I would be right now. I feel so good. I admire Michael and Emily so much, and the whole donor community. You are the reason I'm here today, and I can't thank you enough for that. The job is not done yet. I still remember all the people I have met and continue to meet that are in need. The need still greatly outweighs the interest. Hopefully more events like this will help balance the scales. If you are waiting for a transplant, do not give up hope. There are many outlets for advice, personally, medically, and financially. Please use them. Thank you for your time, effort, and positive thinking. Share your spare and donate life.
You weren't nervous at all, were you?
A little bit.
Hey, Mark and Lynn, next year, I think we need kidney share tissues that need to be handed out beforehand. It's a great story. We've known of it at our station for several years now because you are one of our locals, and we've done several stories with it. And I'm happy to get to meet Lenny, who is drinking water at a brewery, but we'll just say that's part of the recovery process, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Now you see why I had to have them tell their story directly, because there's no way I would have made any sense out of that. It's a great story.